Well, #1, and you love that bullseye.
I do. I do. I think there's a lot of teams that could be. You know, I think Duke's, you know, as good as anybody. I still love Villanova, but you know what? I don't think we've been given anything either. I think we've earned our keep to take our shot at it for a while. And the key is not to get there. The key is to stay there, and the key is to end up there. So we understand that. You know, I just think it's a plus for our players to feel like what they've done so far gets rewarded a little bit. How they handle it will be speak volumes to, you know, what our near future's like.
I was just going to say that this is different than being appointed #1 before the season, because you had a little target and you have kind of earned it, right?
I think we have. You know, I think we've played against good enough people. You know, these last 4 games have made it a little crazy. It's always, what did you do for me today? You know, and so I think we get hurt where other teams played some of those teams early. We happen to play them late because of our schedule. We're playing the same teams everybody else played. In fact, more than most are playing. But as you guys know, it means nothing right now. It just, I think it's good for our program, for our university, and I think it's good for our players to understand the pressure they're going to be under. Went from high to enormous, and you got to be able to handle it.
You're a coach, so you're a warrior.
Sometimes.
So this is going to sound like a crazy question, but if things almost been too good, I mean, you haven't had much adversity.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of funny. I had a meeting last night and this morning about that with my team. In fact, one of the things I did this morning is showed them the kick against the Oklahoma, you know,
the block kick.
The block kick. I showed them that and talked to them about it. It's like a free throw, you know. Those guys, everybody talks about how many kicks Georgia blocked. What was it, 2? Randy, you here?
That was the 3rd one.
Yeah, so 2 out of 100 of extra points and field goals. That's not very many, but it's like missing a free throw, you know. And we showed them the cutout free throw in the North Carolina-Oregon game, you know, to try to say the little things do matter, you know. I still personally think that's one of Nick's biggest successes at Alabama is every little thing matters. And it's hard to make people understand that. And it's one of my biggest concerns because last year the mistakes weren't always dealt with because we were trying to survive. And this year, you don't get to make those same mistakes and try to win the Big Ten now. You know, you can't have just some days that you just don't come, because you're going to have enough days when you come that are going to be tough. So it was a good learning experience of little things matter, and that was my way of showing them today, getting a little my favorite sport in there besides.
Big Ten is back now. How much are you guys looking forward to having that?
You mean the 7-1 bowl season?
No, I wasn't talking about football. I was actually talking about basketball. Kind of getting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. You know, because I think we can become a little bit fooled. If we can't, I think fans can be of, you know, these 4 games and take nothing away from us. I think we play when you play good defense and you shoot well. That means you're playing both ends of the court, and I think we earn the right to feel good about that. But let's not lose perspective on, you know, some of those teams had an injured player, some of them we were just better than. And what I've liked about this team is, including Duke, it's been pretty consistent. Most of the consistencies has been in a good area, our defense and our offense, and our, you know, little struggle there, 3-point shooting early. The only inconsistent has still been the turnovers, and but you look at both ends of the court, we've been pretty consistent.
What were the little things in that 4-game stretch that you think that have kind of improved?
Well, I think we shot the ball better. We were shooting it decent, but we shot it a lot better, and that's what, you know, the Boeheim rule, that you get confidence sometimes, which is probably true. I thought we ran much better, you know, because we had more opportunities to run. I thought we executed a little better, you know. I think in some of those games we didn't turn it over bad. I thought we had stretches where we were a lot better. One game, 3/4 of the game, we had 6 turnovers, you know. And we had 5 in the last minute or 2 with, when things weren't right. This last game we started out, we had 10 in the first 9 minutes, then we had 7 or 8 in the next 31 minutes. So I think we're playing stretches better. But I guess what I love most is I think, you know, Gavin's getting a little better. X is getting a lot better. Kenny making some improvement here. And now it's time to get Jaron. Jaron is the next one to really get going. And did some things today to, you know, some of that is falls on me, you know. The running part, the offensive rebound falls on him. Getting more shots falls on me. So we'll keep working on that, because I think that's another weapon we have that has not been exploited yet.
There are not a lot of minutes on a team with this many players, but has Xavier earned more opportunity? I know that's hard to say because it may not be a lot more minutes.
Yeah, I think he has. I think he has, you know, and, you know, I heard something last night. You know, again, I watch TV for different reasons. DeRozan from Toronto had a 50-point night. He's been on a tear lately, and they said, what do you attribute it to? And he said, less minutes. I go, I did just like the announcer, just like one of you guys, like you up there. And he goes, huh? And he says, less minutes. We're playing more people. I'm not playing as many minutes. I'm fresher. And I thought that was an interesting point, you know.
You share that with your team?
Oh, yes. I share everything with my team. But I think it is valid and true, you know. And does that mean that Miles is going to play 25 minutes? Nope. But does that mean he's going to play 35 like some teams are doing with their stars? Hopefully not, you know. I think we've got a rotation. Now, that rotation isn't going to be as strong as it's been probably. You know, you hope to get as many shots as we've been getting, but Big Ten play, any conference play, there's going to be less possessions probably. So those will all be things that we're going to have to adjust to that I think will be interesting.
We made a joke about Ward missing a shot the other night, but seriously, since the alleged incident at Rutgers, he's been almost perfect. Is there a correlation?
I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. Tough love?
Maybe you should ask him. He'd be the best one to answer that. But I mean, you know, I don't think that's why he's been so good. But I think what happens is, you know, whenever you challenge somebody, somebody's got to focus in more. I got to focus in more because I challenge them, and I'm going to take some crap from everybody for it. He's got to focus in because he knows that we're not happy. And I just think he's done a phenomenal job, you know. And now I'm ready to give him some credit because it's 6 straight games. And yet, you know, it was a funny thing happened. I told him to tell you guys, I don't know if he did, but last game on the bench, or maybe I did talk about it in the press conference, you know, he was tired a couple times. And I said, yeah, it makes a difference when you run and play the other end of the court compared to when you don't. And I said, that's the shape you got to get in now to play 25 minutes a game, you know, and up that 3-4 minutes. So these are all things that I think we learn from, we can get better at, and we can make points of that actually makes sense. And when you have a video to do it, because somebody said something, somebody did something in another game, when it's a different sport, it's even better because it just tells you that this is life, you know, this is what it takes.
I know you hate social media.
A lot.
But since Draymond left, have you had a player that embraces being a Spartan, whether it's women's basketball, hockey, whatever, football, like Miles? Because he's always on there supporting.
He is on there supporting, and I appreciate that, and I try to tell him, continue to support, but spend a little more time on your 3-point shot, a little less time tweeting, you know. But I guess he's been one of the rare 99% of the time positive tweeters. Not that I follow it, but I get information. But you know, I do love the fact that our guys appreciated our football team winning. They appreciated it. They watched it. They enjoyed it. They appreciated the way they won. Coach D came by the next day a little bit. It was all good. So you're right. Things are going kind of smoothly, and now we got to hold up our end of the bargain as I take the baton from him.
Maryland comes in a little banged up, obviously. Some tough luck with injuries.
Yeah.
Just talk about their...
You know, Jackson is the main one, you know, and yet wasn't averaging as many, 9.8 or something as last year, but very valuable member of that team, 30 minutes a game, you know, could rebound, had some toughness, had some athleticism. I love that kid as a freshman. But, you know, we lose Miles and go to Minnesota and play Northwestern home and win, you know, I mean, he's a good coach. They got a good team, and their two best players are still there, Cowan and Herder, you know, and big guy is still there, you know, Tchaikovsky or whatever, and then they have Nickham and the other kid who will play instead of him that creates some other problems for us. He was a 20% three-point shooter, and now they got two guys that are 53 and 43 or something from the three. So they'll lose out on some things, they'll gain on others. That's what we got to be concerned with.
What's been your take on the Big Ten overall? Are you buying that it's down at the top?
You know, I'm buying that I think the Michigan State way hurt the Big Ten a little bit. I think more teams are playing tougher schedules. And we've lost a couple that I think we shouldn't have. You know, Northwestern's going to be a very good team. They've had some injuries and guys out. And one of their best players was out, and now I don't know what the deal is with their guard. But so they've been one. I still think Iowa's a very good team and is adjusting to things. So that would be another one. And Michigan's playing well, and Purdue's playing well, and Ohio State's playing really well, you know. Then you have the problem that as I told Steve from Rutgers happens as you're trying to build your program. You win a couple big games and players don't know how to handle it. Then you lose to two teams you should have beat, and that puts a real mark on your program. Penn State has done that. I mean, they've played as good as a lot of teams when you watch them, but they've had those problems, you know. And I think the other team that I think is going to be a lot better, good thing we caught them early, is Nebraska. I liked their talent when we played them. They just didn't play together yet. And they've played pretty well since, and yet had their one or two games. So that part's been disappointing, but I think you're going to find out that the league will be, I think, really good. And there'll be 5 or 6 teams at the top that I think are going to be very, very solid teams.
Last time you guys were #1 was a couple of years ago with a more veteran team with Denzel and those guys. Is it tougher for young guys, or do you like the makeup of this team in terms of how to handle that? Are you confident
you know what?
that they...
If you ask me if it's tougher, that's one answer. If you ask me if I'm confident, that's another answer. But because both of them, we haven't been here with a team this young before, you know. And that was one of the other statements I made to my guys this morning, you know. Miles, you think you've done a lot because you could have gone pro. You've never been in this situation. You never had a chance to play for a Big Ten championship last year, really. You never were ranked #1. You know, all these things, they're advantages, but you got to realize somebody is putting a bullseye on your back. And so I'm anxious to see now if today's practice was anything like it. It was pretty good, you know. We're going again tonight. So how you practice is usually how you play. They didn't look like they were all full of themselves today, and I'd be shocked if this team is, but handling the pressures other teams put on, you know, we're a week away from students coming back and everybody hugging and kissing them and all that stuff, and it just makes me be more of a jerk. And I relish the opportunity.